Hi, good evening. This is Veronica Reid, and this is my case presentation. I want to welcome you. This is regarding my internship. My agency is the YWCA, and I'm very proud to be part of this. We are the Domestic Violence Prevention Center, and this is where we get stuff done for people that are hurting regarding domestic violence. The YMCA does so many things, so it's hard to describe exactly what we do, but concisely, we want to ensure that people know that love shouldn't hurt and that everybody should be entitled to a peaceful life. We are a shelter. We are a safe haven. This is where victims of abuse come and this is where they find help. This is where we get stuff done for people that have nowhere to go. We give legal counseling and so much more. To know about the YWCA is that we empower people and we provide a safe haven for battered women and their children. We truly believe that attitudes change everything. So we work very hard to give people the opportunity to become, rather than victims of domestic violence, to become survivors of domestic violence. The YMCA is connected with different agencies such as the local police, hospitals, law enforcement, local primary helping agencies, and the social service. So regarding the funds, where our monies come from. At EY, we receive federal and state grants. We have to often apply to them. We receive corporate donations. We have private donations. And we have a team of dedicated people that have done an outstanding job. We organize bridal showers and yard sales. One thing to know about domestic violence is that domestic violence is about power and control. It could be financial, emotional, and psychological, and it could be sexual abuse. Another thing to consider regarding domestic abuse is that it happens in all social realities, all religions, and all cultural backgrounds. I'm now going to revise the specific case. The victim is Jane Hurt. She's approximately 40 years old. She lives in the city of Sad Reality. Her family is consisted of Jane, her husband, and 3 children. Her husband is the abuser, and the 3 children are in the age of 6, 12, and 15 years old. One important thing to know about our victim is that she is Hispanic, but mostly is that she is undocumented. She does not have the right to work in the United States. She is extremely confused. She does not know what to do. She is scared to talk about abuse because she fears to be deported. She is in a total state of fear. She does not trust the authorities and is scared to lose her children or be deported to her home country as she comes from Central America. Our victim has experienced abuse for about 20 years. This is an abuse that has gone over the years for financial abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, and sexual abuse. The victim is extremely hurt and she's coming to the conclusion that this is no longer acceptable. So they're having a party and everybody seems to have a good time. However, the victim's husband is increasingly upset and took a knife with the intention to harm the victim. Thankfully, there were other people that were willing to help and separate them, but the victim is finally realizing that this is no longer correct and she feels extremely vulnerable and she is realizing that this is no longer safe for her or for the children. She's for the first time willing to seek help, and that's why the shelter is so important because although the victim has suffered tremendous abuse, this is the first time she will contact the YWCA. Another thing to know about domestic violence is that victims of domestic abuse are not only experiencing loss and lack of self-esteem, very often poor communication skills. They're often very isolated and they lack on validation. The first thing we do at the Y is listen to the story. We know that victims are suffering. We try to just encourage them to talk so we can have a good picture of what goes on. A lot of people just need validation. Many of them have told their story previously and nobody believes them. The first thing we do is validate them, encourage them, and truly listen to their stories and develop a safety plan. How can we go from here to there? We explain the process, what are the potential outcomes, what is the timing, how can we move on, and what are really the opportunities for that to happen. We also record, previous cases of violence, and we go for this is what we happens today, and if you do this and that, we might be able to get you to point B, which is be in a safe place and far away from abuse. With the help of the YWCA and the case manager, we were able to find a safe place for the victim, isolate the victim from the abuser. We were able to follow through with a protective order, and after a few weeks, we were able to file for child custody and gain full custody of the children. In this case, we moved the client from point A of abuse and fear to point B of self-empowerment and just more independence. The immediate goal was to manage the safety situation, to ensure that the victim would not be killed. And the long-term goal is to allow the client to gain some skills to develop healthy boundaries in the future. So in this case, this is a success story because we were able to support the client in so many ways. So she is no longer Jane Hurt, she is Jane Hope. She is no longer living in the sad reality. She lives in the city of I can handle this. She is with her family, working and doing quite well. The future is certainly up to her. We have given her the skills so that she can find healthy relationships and take care of her children and have a beautiful life. One thing to consider about domestic violence, and this is not an immediate fix. We cannot pretend that a 2-second session will solve an abusive relationship. This is not the immediate happily ever after. So domestic violence has very deep roots. What we try to do is give victims the tools and the skills they need to find and build future healthy boundaries and healthy relationships. But we do know that some of them might not be able to successfully break the circle of violence. Regarding my strengths, I believe that my experience as a human being in many ways has prepared me to be very aware of limitations, and I always want to build healthy boundaries. I am fluent in German, Spanish, English, which allows me to communicate with a diverse population, and they always tend to talk to me because they feel that I am listening to them, which comes together with developing good listening skills. Be not judgmental and just be aware on what others can go through. Another strength is the fact that I don't panic very easily. I am, for the most part, keep calm and carry on is my motto. I have a lot of compassion and I'm kind, but I am firm. Regarding my weaknesses and areas of improvement, I believe that I can learn more about legal procedures, what are the steps, and what is the timing. This is an area where we have a tremendous amount of paperwork, and it will be very helpful for me to learn a little bit more about the forms, where the signature goes, what it really means, where to sign, what is the color of the form, so that I have a better understanding and I can very fast have a quick idea on what the victim is talking about when they are truly confused and still worried about their personal situations. Another thing to consider is that I am not a counselor. I do not hold a PhD in counseling, so there are some limitations in there. Another thing to consider is that we have a tremendous amount of victims that require help, and I believe that connecting with other legal agencies would be very helpful. Regarding the limitations and barrier, I do want to point out that we have some limitations. We have definitely limited resources at the YWCA. That counts for us as helping professionals as well. We have limited time to dedicate to each victim. We also have limited financial support. We have limited amount of counseling opportunities, and we have limited space. So something that we want to consider as well is that we deal with a very challenging system and there is a lot of red tape in it. So we encourage patience and teamwork for us to not develop burnout. I want to thank my agency, the YWCA. It's simply outstanding. They do an amazing job. I have nothing but appreciation to every staff member and every victim they help. They are extremely dedicated, and this being an outstanding experience, I have nothing but gratitude towards my agency. I also want to thank you to be part of this presentation, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.